Hello, everybody. My name is Sherelle Unique, and I am here. Joining me, I have Sakina and I have Shayla, and y'all see what she's doing right now. She'll be in and out. This is actually our fifth annual PCOS, Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome podcast. And me and Sakina started this five. Can you believe it's been this long?
No.
Like, I can't believe it either. It's crazy to think about that we've been going this long talking about
Yeah.
this condition. Um,
Right.
and how it's like affecting our lives, changing our lives. And we met a lot of new people on this journey. And I like doing this podcast because we get to share like where we are, what's working, what's not working, how our journeys have changed because people who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, the journey is different for everyone.
Everybody.
Mm-hmm. It is. And like finding out how you got it and what your symptoms are, how you're managing it, what works for you, what does, for every woman that has participated in this and every woman who has not, it's been a different journey. Some similarities included, but all different journeys. So we're gonna start. Let's see if I can share the screen. Share screen. Will it work? Yes. At least giving like some brief information on what polycystic ovarian syndrome is. Y'all can see the site so you know where I'm getting this information, and we can add or take away anything we don't feel is accurate. Um, can you guys see this website?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm going to make this a little bigger for me. Okay, so for those who don't know what PCOS is, it's polycystic ovarian syndrome. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is a common condition that affects your hormones. It causes irregular menstrual periods, excess hair growth, acne, and infertility. Treatment, it also causes much more than that, and we'll get into that stuff. Treatment for PCOS depends on if you wish to become pregnant. People with PCOS may be at higher risk for certain health conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera. And this is coming from Cleveland Clinic. There are other definitions. I would like to read another one just to give a different perspective. WebMD says polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, is a hormonal condition that affects your ovaries, the female reproductive organs that make eggs. It affects about 1 in every 10 women and people assigned female at birth who are of childbearing age. It's one of the most common causes of infertility. Some people with PCOS have cysts, which are small sacs of fluid on their ovaries. That's why it's called polycystic. But the name is a bit misleading because some people with the condition don't have cysts. In fact, many don't have symptoms at all. That's one reason why up to 70% of those with PCOS don't know they have it. The condition starts after puberty, but may not be diagnosed until you're trying to get pregnant. It never goes away, but symptoms usually get better after menopause. In the meantime, several treatments can relieve the symptoms or help you get pregnant. Okay. Um, and there are different types of PCOS. I'm not going to get into the specifics of each type, but I will name the types that are listed here on WebMD. Um, Non-hyperandrogenic PCOS, or type D. Ovulatory PCOS, type C. Non-PCO PCOS. Full-blown PCOS. It says informally, you might hear people describe it using other terms that refer to it, its causes or symptoms, like insulin-resistant PCOS, inflammatory PCOS, hidden cause PCOS, pill-induced PCOS. So there are different types of polycystic ovarian syndrome. And while we're here, I'll list some of the symptoms, and then we'll get into some of our own personal journeys with this. Hair loss, excessive face and body hair, which is also called hirsutism, oily skin, acne, darkened skin, skin tags, PCOS pain, weight gain, or the PCOS round PCOS belly, ovarian cysts, mood changes, and that's just a few. They also mentioned insulin resistance and, like I said, weight gain, infertility, things of that such. All right, let me stop sharing this screen. Stop sharing. Okay. All right. Sakina, you want to give a brief overview of how you found out about it and what symptoms you now deal with? Yeah.
Sure. Um, so initially, I was unofficially diagnosed. Well, I guess it's confusing. So when I was 19, they just told me that I may not be able to have kids because I don't ovulate regularly. So that was 19. I was officially diagnosed and told about um, basically the name, not really the condition. I was told that I had PCOS at the age of 23. Um, my symptoms are my biggest symptoms is hirsutism and absent periods. I have about, if I'm lucky, 2 or 3 periods a year. I may have one period. I don't think I've ever gone a whole year without a period though. I have cravings. Those in the past have been very, very big, and took over my life, but now they're not as big. What else? And infertility. I think those are the only symptoms I really have right now.
Quick question. Are you, because I know that for some women, it's they're unsure about the infertility. Are you 100% sure with that one? Like,
No, no, not 100% sure, but with the absent periods and my past history with not being able to get pregnant and or miscarriages, I just assume that's what it is.
gotcha. Um, Shayla, hey girl. Um, can you share with us, a brief overview of how you found out and what symptoms you're dealing with now?
Yes, give me one moment.
And like I mentioned before, everybody's journey with this condition is just different. Um, for that reason, I want to encourage folk to participate in some kind of support. For me, I've been doing the Facebook support groups. There are a number of them. Let me pull up some. There's
Yeah,
people.
I started out when they first told me about the about PCOS at 23. I didn't know what it was. So once I've Googled and researched and found out exactly what it was and all the symptoms and stuff, that's the first thing I did. Got on Facebook, joined some groups. I was looking for some in-person support groups in Pittsburgh, but they didn't have any at the time. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I definitely encourage it. It helps a lot when you have other people who understand.
Yeah. Yeah. The ones I'm in one, I lost the one that, oh, it's called PCOS support group, but there's some other ones I'm seeing called Overcoming PCOS support group and awareness.
Mm.
PCOS support group uncensored. Um, let me see. PCOS diet support and 30-day challenge.
Oh,
PCOS
okay.
for Black girls. Like these are overcome PCOS naturally. These are some of the groups that I'm seeing on Facebook. I know some folk aren't on Facebook. PCOS and Endo Warriors, PCOS support group. Um, so those are some of the supports. So really, if you're not connected to social media, it's important to have some supports because when it's a hormonal imbalance or just so much going on with your body, it's good to have somebody to like talk to about it and just like bounce some of those things off of. um I'm going to get into how I found out. So I was about 30, approximately 30 years old. I went to the doctor because my facial hair was just out of hand. It was uncontrollable. um and I had at that, now I've been hairy my whole life, and but at that time I had already had the facial hair removal, laser removal.
Mm.
And so it had come back with a vengeance and I could not maintain it. And it was making me upset. So I talked to my doctor. And so she started putting some things together. She's like, okay, well, you've never been pregnant. You have very long periods, um, overweight. So she started putting these things together. And then when she did that, she had me do an ultrasound and there were cysts on my ovaries at that time. So that's when I was diagnosed around 30 years old, um, maybe even 29. Now, at this point, I'm approaching my 39th birthday here, coming up next month. Um, at this point, I still deal with cravings. I am still deal with mood swings, moodiness. Hirsutism is still a thing that I deal with very much so on the daily. Um, at this time last year, I'll say this, I would still be dealing with periods that would last approximately like 8 days, but I'm now on medication. Um, because I had a lot of changes since our last podcast, and I'm gonna get into that stuff. But now I don't have periods at all because of the medication I'm on. Um, but if I was not on that medication, I would be having periods that would last a very long time, to the point where it seemed as though I was uh having it like twice a month because it's lasting so long.
Mm.
So, um, Sakina, have you experienced any changes from last year to this year? regarding your PCOS?
Mm, I can say the cravings, something happened and the cravings just kind of like decreased. I'm not going to say disappeared, but they decreased because before I would be like a raging bitch when I didn't get what I wanted when I wanted it. But now it's kind of I barely even have any cravings. If I like, it's far and few. That's the only thing I think that changed. Um, I did have, and the year's not up. So far this year, I've had 3 spontaneous periods, whereas before I would have to, if I wanted a regular period, I would have to get on birth control or some type of other progesterone or something like that. But this year I had 3 periods, 2 of which were back to back. So I had one in February and then I had one in uh no, I had one in January and then I had one in March and then April. So March and April were back to back, which is something very new for me. Those are really like the only changes I can think of.
I had a question pertaining to that.
Mhm.
Not being able to, okay, from standing from a perspective of having such long ones, I've had times where I've bled for months.
Mhm.
Standing from a space of that and hearing about someone who cannot, being a person with a woman with the issue of blood or whatever, I'm like, oh, I'd be glad if I have to deal with that. There's some women who are like, dang, I'd be glad I wouldn't have to deal with that.
Mhm.
Is that how you feel, or being in your shoes, not having one, is it, does it make you uncomfortable? Is it that you're not having them regularly? Or do you stand in the space of I'm cool with it? Like,
Um, it bothered me for a very, very, very long time. I felt like, and that's another, the flip side of PCOS that a lot of women don't really talk about. When you have PCOS, I know for me at least, for a long time, because I did not have regular periods, I felt like less of a woman. I would be in rooms where other women were talking about womanly things, such as periods and maybe having babies and stuff like that. And it's just like, I can't relate, you know?
mhm,
There are times I'm grateful for not having a period, but I would personally rather have a regular period every month than to be wondering, okay, am I going through menopause or is just PCOS? Like, because that is, you can go through early menopause with PCOS.
okay. Because then it's like, I don't know what I'm dealing with here. What am I
Yep,
dealing?
yep,
That makes sense. That
yeah.
makes sense.
And then another thing that changed for me, because when I was younger, I did have long periods. Every time I would go periods without having periods, maybe like the longest I went was like maybe 6 months without having a period. But then when I did have a period, it lasted for months. So it would be like sometimes 2 to 3 weeks and sometimes 3 to 6 months that it would linger on and last. Um,
Would it be like
eh,
heavy or light or just
like
variations?
like heavy, like to the point where one time they had to put me on iron pills because I bled for 6 months straight, and my iron was dangerously low.
Mm,
So they were thinking about putting me on iron pills indefinitely, but then they decided against that um, when my iron levels went back up. But yeah, so I did have those periods where, I was bleeding for long periods of time. And at the time I was in a relationship. So that was like, how do you explain to your significant other, like, I've been bleeding for 6 months? You know what I mean?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Um, are you one, and we talked about this in other podcasts, but just to add it to this one for 2024, are you one to share it with the significant other? And then like, how has that been like, has any, like you said, it presented challenges in that relationship. Has it presented challenges in other relationships? Has they been understanding? Has it, you know?
I think, in general, people don't really truly understand PCOS. Shoot, we don't understand it. We just happen to understand it more than the average person. But I think when it comes to number one, womanly business, and number two, when it comes to men and the woman body, it just don't mix. And I just don't think a lot of them understand.
No, they don't.
I've told my I told one of my exes about it, and he just didn't understand. Like, he thought I don't know what he thought, but I just know he didn't understand what I was trying to say. And I explained everything to him, like, "Oh, the cysts on my ovaries and this and this and that," and he just was like, "Oh, well, it'll get better. Go get some medicine." And I'm just like, "This is not something that you there's no cure for it." I've had other people think that it was a disease that they can catch, but that I digress with that one. This particular ex I was talking about where I bled 6 months, he understood to a certain extent until it came to me having a 6-month period, and we were unable to have sex, and then it was just like, "Well, you need to go do something about that." Mhm.
What about the infertility conversation?
That is always a difficult conversation. I try to be open and honest about it, but um again, I don't think they truly understand because then people always throw at me, well, my ex thought she couldn't have kids and we got pregnant. And it's just like, I'm not your ex. And I don't know what your ex's body was doing, but my body is different.
I really wish that men would, one, take the time out to learn a little more about women
Absolutely.
and some of the things that we go through. There's a lot of things that, like you said, women's business. There are a
Hmm.
number of things that we deal with that they have no idea about.
Yep.
Um, so it'd be nice if they cared to know, or would be a little bit more humble
Hmm.
instead of, because sometimes you get the ones that's going to come in and mansplain what you got
Yep.
going on. And it's like, well, you have no idea anything about
Well,
this.
you just need to eat better and exercise. And
But
it's just like,
I wish they knew about hormones, especially hormonal imbalance, because
mhm,
it's the things that you can't see with the naked eye.
mhm.
You see the outcome, the results. You don't see what's going on behind all these things that has
Yep.
caused it. And here you come feeling like you can come and tell somebody what they think, what you think should be going on. It's
Mhm.
like, bruh, that's not even what it is. For me, let's see. The men that I've talked to have heard of PCOS. So like they might be like, oh yeah, somebody else said they had that type of thing. So they don't know about it, but they're familiar with the name and whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, as far as like those long periods have become an issue. Because I'm sure somebody that I was dealing with didn't really believe that I'm on my cycle again.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you can't be still bleeding. Like I wish that was the case.
And then they'll go off of somebody they was with before. Well, my ex was only on for 3 days.
Bruh, it does not work. Shayla, while you got the time to talk, I'm gonna give you the floor. Give us a brief overview of how you found out about yours and what symptoms you're dealing with now.
So it was crazy. I was irregular for a very long time, and I actually looked up some stuff and diagnosed myself. And I said, I think I have PCOS. And so when I went to the doctor, they were like, "No, you don't have PCOS." And I was like, "Well, something's wrong." Time go by. It's 2017, and I get diagnosed with PCOS or PCOS. And so I was having irregular cycles. I got pregnant twice. I had ectopic pregnancy. My weight just started getting like I started gaining a lot of weight fast. Hair underneath the chin, I still dealing with that. Um, Mood swings. Well, my mood swings are good because I'm on a birth control. I've been on birth control for years, and then I stopped taking birth control, and I was fine. But then I started having them irregular cycles where I was on my cycle for 3 months, and then I'll be off for 3 months, and then I'll be on for 3 months, and it was just a terrible pattern. Um, that ended up just being annoying. So I got right back on birth control. And so right now, like my PCOS is insulin resistant. And so it's actually getting like, it's basically getting really bad now. So they're saying that I'm pre-diabetic. And so right now I have an appointment with a dietitian, I have an appointment with a weight loss specialist, and then an endocrinologist that is coming up as well. Oh, another thing too, I was starting to get like more like inner thigh, like darkness. So I just went to a dermatologist and they prescribed me with some creams that are coming in the mail. And it's this one pill I just started taking. It started with an S. I can't pronounce it. And it's supposed to be like water resistant. They kind of use it for high blood pressure, but they said it helps a lot with PCOS. And so it's going to help like with some of the hair underneath the chin, water resistance. Um, and then since I'm having thinning, I'm getting like thinning, like my hair is thinning a lot in different areas. They said it's crazy because it's going to stop the hair from like growing underneath the chin, but still helping my hair to grow at the same time. So it's just something that we're trying and seeing how that plays out.
I'm glad you mentioned like trying and seeing how it plays out. There's a lot of that in this PCOS journey that I found. Like you're testing out different hormonal drugs or this and that, whatever you're trying. It could be natural, but you're trying out different things to see how it works out, to see how your body responds, if your body's going to take to it or not, if you are going to like it or not, if, it's so up and down and trying to figure out what works best for you. And so I I've had a lot of changes since last year. Last year we did the PCOS podcast and I remember talking about how I kind of was in a space of like, okay, I kind of had like given up. So I was just like, hey, my cravings control my life. And I was cool with that. But after I got off that podcast, I was like, dang, that sounds crazy. And I felt a little bit of conviction. And I reached a part, like you had mentioned, feeling less of a woman. Your PCOS symptoms, for me, I experienced it feeling like, yeah, like bleeding all the time is not attractive. It's not womanly. It
Mm-mm.
doesn't feel feminine. It doesn't feel demure and mindful. Uh, Facial hair, excessive facial hair does not feel demure, mindful.
Not at
It's
all.
not giving beauty and
And
grace.
it don't help when social media is getting on there like, "Oh, she got a mustache, she got a beard." And it's like,
And to have this big, round, pregnant looking belly that comes with PCOS for a lot of women, not all. That's what I was experiencing. And I was getting to a place of not liking my body, hating my
Mhm.
body, um, and being upset and not feeling feminine or womanly or desirable. And
Yeah.
so I had got to a point where I was going to do something about it. So initially I was looking into weight loss surgery, Sonabella, something. And so a friend of mine had mentioned, like, well, have you tried like talking to your endocrinologist? And so I end up going to my endocrinologist. And when I did, I told him what was going on with me. Because at this point, my belly had gotten so large that to me, it did not look like it was a part of my body.
Mm.
Like it looked like it was some other attachment that was just put on to my body. And I got to a point of being so tired of looking pregnant and I can't even get pregnant, or at least I
Right.
don't know if I can. Never have been in 38 years. Um, so I went to the endocrinologist and he's like, okay, yeah, you have a lot of endocrine things going on here. And because also I have a goiter in my thyroid. So that's something also that's been monitored over the years. So I have a lot of things. And so when I went to see him, he said, okay, I'm going to put you either on Manjaro or Trulicity. And I said, okay, I don't know what that is. So I started doing some research. He checked my A1C. At that point in October of last year, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And my cravings had gotten so bad. Like I don't smoke. I drink socially. So maybe like sometimes I'll say once a week, but really it's not even that much. Um, I don't do any drugs, but my drug of choice has been sugar, sweet,
Mhm.
pop, carbs. So when I'm stress eating and I'm eating those things and I'm binge eating those things. And
Mhm.
I ate myself into type 2 diabetes. And with PCOS, your insulin, you're higher risk for it with all the things that's going on. So he ended up putting me on Manjaro. That has been a life-changing journey. Um, at this point now, I started Manjaro last year, November 2024, 2023. We're now
I can't believe that's gonna be a year.
we're almost into a year. Ain't that
That's
crazy?
crazy. Yeah.
Gosh, that's crazy. So he put me on that, and that has been life changing. That's been completely life changing. Um, when I started that, for those who are listening, and Sakina knows all of this already, but when I started that, I was 230 pounds. I end up losing 35 pounds. I never thought I would see a day where I would be under 200 pounds. I wasn't even looking for it. All I wanted was this stomach to go down.
Mhm.
And I still want this stomach to go down more, even though it has gone down significantly. Um, because it still has the shape that I don't like. But I'm so happy that I've lost weight. I've made some progress. Um, I'm no longer in diabetic range. So my A1C is
Woo!
normal. My God is good.
Yes,
And
he is.
it has calmed things down for me as far as a lot of the hormonal things that go on with PCOS. Like I feel like because with the Manjaro, it slows down the food noise. When the food
Mhm.
noise is calmed down, I feel clearer. You don't realize how much especially when you have severe cravings, how much you obsess over food. If you're not thinking
Yep.
about wanting something, you're now trying to think about not trying to have that. What else should I have?
Yeah.
And then, okay, no, I can't have that because that's bioengineered and that's this. And like, we obsess over food and don't even realize it. But when that food noise goes, you just feel so much clearer. You have so much more peace. Um, yeah. This year has been like completely different from what was going on last year in regards of my PCOS. Like I said, I had started a birth control because I ended up with a fibroid at the top of the year. So this doctor put me on a birth control called norithindrodrone. I said it wrong. Norithindrodrone, something like that. So now I no longer have periods. So before, when you saw me before, I was 35 pounds bigger. I was on the way to diabetes. I was bleeding all the time. I was low key miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Not even low key, high key miserable.
High key.
High key
Because
miserable.
that's what it'll do to you.
And you get so used to functioning in discomfort because that's your norm.
And then people don't realize, yeah, you're dealing with all of this stuff in your body, but you still have to get up and be a functional adult.
And not
You have to go to work. You have to deal with people you don't want to deal with, you know? And if you got kids, you got to deal with your kids.
yeah. I'm grateful for the changes. Like I'm still moody. I don't feel as moody.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've been on 7.5 Manjaro for probably 8 months, 9 months. So now I've kind of plateaued in the weight loss, plateaued in um the cravings and this, like I do have my cravings back, but they're not as strong. I have moments where I'm more in control of my body and myself and my mind. Um, it's not, I'm not completely in the clear, but I feel much better.
Mm.
I feel much better than I did last year this time. I have a question. Do you deal with pain? Because a lot of the women in a number of women in the PCOS support group have a pain in their lower abdomen that they attribute to PCOS. I can't say I've ever, only time I had that pain was when I later found out that I was dealing with a fibroid. So outside
Mm.
of that, I never really dealt with the pain much. Even with these long periods, I was never really super crampy or anything like that. So do you deal with pain?
In the past with my periods, I did have cramps. Since my periods have become, I guess, regular, like, so since 2017, I only get 5-day periods, which is so strange to me. So when I do come on, it's only for 5 days. But I don't get cramps now, but I will randomly get like sharp pains in like my uterus area, and it'll last like maybe 3 to 5 minutes and then it'll be over. But that's the only pain that I do feel.
How often does it come and go?
Mm, I say about maybe sometimes it's once a week, sometimes it's like every couple months.
Okay,
So
so
it's
kind of
not that
random.
often at all.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, like that's not, I wasn't sure if, because I know with pain, a lot of women with endometriosis have a lot of pain. I
Mhm.
didn't hear about it as much with PCOS. Do you know do you know other women who are having that lower abdomen uterus pain?
There's only one woman I met randomly in Philly on the way back to Pittsburgh from Atlantic City. We were on a Greyhound, but she did tell me she said like a burning pain whenever one of the cysts would rupture.
Mm.
but that's the only other person I've ever heard say that.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Um, that's one thing too about PCOS, like we mentioned earlier, like it's so different for
For
everybody's
everybody.
journey is so different. So you'll hear
Yeah.
something and it kind of is a mind. I don't want to use the word, but it'll blow your mind because you like, dang, she dealing with that. Am I gonna have that? Like, you know,
Mhm.
like what?
I used to I used to look at other women when they would say they have PCOS, but they had like regular periods every month, and I would just be looking like, well, wait, what? I don't understand how you can have PCOS and not. This is, of course, before I knew like all that I know now, but I used to be like, well, I don't understand how you can have regular periods and still have PCOS. Like what is going on?
Yeah,
Because
like
I thought that was just I
confused.
truly thought that was a part of PCOS, the absent periods. Like, I mean, it is a part of, but I thought that was like the main thing.
Like this the standard thing that everybody has type of deal.
Mhm.
And that's where it gets tricky for these doctors
Yep.
because it's
And
not.
that's why it's so hard to diagnose too,
Mhm.
because it's like everybody has different things. So you can't streamline it and say, okay, well, if you have absent periods and cravings and facial hair, you have PCOS and then that's it. You can't
Mhm.
have PCOS without all three of those put together, you know?
It's like, yeah, you can. I thought I always up until last year or so, I always thought that everybody with polycystic ovarian syndrome had cysts on their ovaries. But then
Mm.
I want to say maybe it was last year where my gynecologist um, did a test and I had no cysts.
Mm.
So I was like, wow, didn't know. But that's
Yeah.
when you go into the different types and how things can look for
Right, right.
each woman. Um, if I had anything else. Mm, trying to think, is there anything else? Did you have any questions?
Mm-mm.
What are you using now? Like I know last year, or recently, you were dealing with
Uh, so I do got a new tea. I'm gonna mute myself so I can go through the living room because it's loud. But hold on.
okay.
All right. So this is the tea that I'm using. Let's see if I can turn my camera around. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. So this is the tea that I'm using, hormonal balance tea.
How's it taste?
Um,
How's it smell?
um, it's a little bitter, but it smells really good. I drink my teas without any sugar or any sugar or honey or anything. So yeah, I'm just used to drinking like plain tea, but it doesn't taste bad. It's
How
just
are
a teeny bit of bitter.
how long you been using it?
I've been using that one for 3 months, but I started using like teas like this maybe like 2 years ago off and on, and that might be contributing to my regulating of the period.
Mm. Do you notice any other like differences in your side effects and symptoms rather?
Mm, no, the biggest thing that sticks out for me is the periods.
Okay.
Because like I said, it blew my mind when I had a 5-day period. So I came on when it was 2 days before my 15th birthday. And ever since, from the time I came on at 14 to maybe when I was 23, that's when my period started to decrease. It might have been 19 when they started to decrease. It was always a 2-week period. So I would have my cycle for 14 days, no less. Sometimes more, but no less. Um, so up until 2017, I always had either a 2-week period or longer. So in 2017, when I had a 5-day period, I was like, "What the what is going on?"
Right. Body.
And I wasn't taking anything. Um, so I don't know, it just I guess my body just changed.
Hmm. Do you
Yeah.
attribute, because you had mentioned your cravings
Mhm.
being gone or calmed down, or do you attribute that to the tea?
I don't know. Actually, I never even thought about it. I just realized like a couple days ago that I don't have as many cravings as I used to. Um, it might be. It might be the tea.
You using
But
any?
then I'm also on uh um a medication for my anxiety.
Mhm.
So, and depression. So that I think I seen the change. I started to see the change with the cravings then, and I'm also on vitamin D. So my vitamin D was low. So I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it,
Okay.
like the combination between the depression medication and the vitamin D. Maybe.
Could be. Could
So
be.
I was looking on the back of this, and I just want to show you guys what this helps to support. So it says PMS symptoms, irregular menstrual cycle, PCOS symptoms, hormonal balance, um, infertility, hirsutism, bloating, and menstrual cramps. And then here's the name of the company. I don't know. Can you see that? Is that clear?
I can see it. Remedy and restore.
Yes.
Where did you get that tea?
Actually, my niece gave it to me and she got it from TikTok.
Is that the only thing that you're using nowadays? Because I know last potty you was like, I'm using this.
Yeah, I had stopped my natural remedies for a while, all except for my garlic and cayenne and my CMOS complex pills, only because I was getting tested for leukemia and I needed to figure out what was going on with that before I moved forward with, you know, dealing with the PCOS. So I did stop that for a while and now I'm getting back into my remedies.
Gotcha. Um, I gotta get better with teas. I want to drink more tea, but I honestly don't think about tea until I'm having a night where I can't sleep
Mm,
or I'm sick, which is rare. Thank the Lord. And yeah, I don't be thinking about tea. I just don't.
Well, maybe we should hold each other accountable.
We should, because I gotta think about tea a little more often. I mean, I don't know if I'll be an everyday drinker, but I like tea.
Yeah.
It's not in my day-to-day routine for whatever reason.
Maybe we should start a tea and talk time.
Tea and talk. I'm down.
Tea and talk.
I'm down.
My friend actually got me into like natural teas. Now I used to go to the store and get like the teas from what's that? What brand is that? I think it's Yogi. Is it Yogi? Whatever brand that is that you buy, you can get it from Giant Eagle or any grocery store. But I used to go and get like the prepackaged teas and stuff. And then my friend was like, "Oh no, you put a couple herbs together and put it in the coffee pot with some water like you making coffee and you got tea."
mm,
And so we used to sit and like mastermind with business stuff and drink tea. And I just got in the habit of doing that. So we could have a tea and talk.
hey, I like that. Like, talk idea. As far as stuff that I'm using, I'll let y'all know about Manjaro. Manjaro,
Mhm.
um, it starts you off at a very low dose, so that you're basically it's injections, it's shots. I have to do them once a week. My shot day is Monday, so tomorrow before work, if I don't forget. If I do, then it'll be after work. But tomorrow before work, shot. I think this started me out on 0.5, then 2.5, then 5, and then 7.5. And I've been on a maintenance dose of 7.5 for a very long time now. And when you get kind of used to it, the side effects aren't as prominent as when you first start. Um, when you first start, like with the very low dosage, it just kind of gets your body accustomed to it. But you start feeling it as they increase the dosages, and that is determined by your endocrinologist or whichever doctor you go to see, and how your body is actually reacting, because it's different for everybody. How their body reacts. For some people, there's some side effects are very, very like intense and they can't handle it. For me, my journey has been a blessing. And that's not to say I don't have any heavy side effects, but I do. But it's not been to the point where I'm like vomiting and can't tolerate what's going on. I've had some days where I'm like, ooh, today is rough, but it's been tolerable overall. And then I'm on 500 milligrams of metformin too. While Shayla's here, I'm gonna let her talk.
Let me say real quick, ooh, I tried the metformin. It had me so sick. I'll never forget. I
Mhm.
was walking to work and I was like, I had to run and get to the restroom in time.
Yes,
I
it
was so
will.
sick. I had to go home. Like I felt like I was gonna throw up and everything. Like I even had like you get like a heat flash. It's like you just be burning it so high. You feel like you gotta just take all your clothes off. So I did it for like 2 weeks and I took myself off of it. So I was just like, mm-mm. But you look good though, Shara. Like that stuff is working on you, honey.
Thank you. I did have to do a little bit of lifestyle change too. I slowed down significantly last winter.
Yeah,
Um, Stayed in the house a little more because trying to lose weight is a job in itself.
it is.
It's like another thing on the plate to pay attention to.
Well, I went from being 168 to now 249.
It's so easy to get.
And then, like,
Mhm.
when people see me, they be like, you can just see it in your face. My breasts are huge. They're bigger. Like, it's just like, and they're like, you want to get a reduction? I'm like, no, not yet. Let me see if I can naturally, like, lose it by myself.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's just different things that I'm just trying to do to get it off of me.
What are you taking right now?
Really, that's it. It was just the birth control and the pill for the water weight in the hair underneath the chin. But like I said, when I go to this dietitian and stuff, they're gonna put me on a different type of plan, and then I know with the endocrinologist and whoever else, I'm gonna probably have to be on some type of weight loss medication. But I just want to see first if I can naturally get the weight off because I got it off before. The last time I got off, I lost 55 pounds, but I did keto. The thing is, when I stopped keto, I gained.
Mm,
So I just have to incorporate a little bit of keto, but still changing my lifestyle a little bit. Because at one point I'm doing good, and then another moment I'm craving fried food, like fried fish,
mm.
fried chicken, like things that I haven't eaten in a long time. I'm starting to crave them now, and
You're at
so,
your second job, so you're a workaholic like me. And
yeah,
for us workaholic girlies,
Yep.
it's so hard to stay on a regimen to lose weight.
girl. And then I'll be working and eating, working and eating. Like
Mm,
now, I just was eating on something and drinking something while I'm dealing with somebody, just trying to make sure nobody's out there. And so it just has been a journey for me. Like it really has. And, I get tired of, talking to somebody on FaceTime or if I just went back home and everybody was just like, you really eating in Texas? And I'm just like, that's not what I want to hear right now.
And it's not all
So
attributed to you eating.
exactly. And I had a friend was like, well, you could do this and you could do that. And I'm like, you think that everything is just based off of me like eating certain things, but it's not just that. I said my hormones are out of whack. I said my weight fluctuate. One day I'm big, one day I can be small. It's a lot that goes into that. I said, so it's not like I intentionally is not trying. I said, when you have PCOS or PCOS, there's so many things that just goes along with it that's connected to it. And then,
mm,
people, when you talk about it to them, they be like, what is that? They first look at you like you nasty, but then when you explain, they're like, wow, I've never heard of that. That's crazy. And I'm like, it's happening in a lot of, African American women,
mm.
so it's like, it's a pain for real, but I try to flip it into a positive and just say I know that I'm gonna be healed by it, be healed from it, and I'm not gonna allow it to just hinder me and hinder my lifestyle. And I can still dress, the way I want to dress, and I'm not gonna try to hide nothing because I know that the weight is gonna come off. So it's like I'm incorporating different things to try to get this weight off of me.
Question, two questions. But the first question, do you deal with any uterine pain or lower abdomen pain?
I do, I
And
do. Give me one moment, okay? One moment.
okay. Um, yeah, so 7.5 Manjaro once a week, which honestly, I would take that every day I would not every day. I would use this medicine for the rest of my life. I'm not in I wasn't having uterine pains, but because my sugar, there's a lot that comes with when your sugar's high, body aches, stuff like that. Um, Vision blurriness, lightheadedness, uh, inability to focus, inability to sleep. When your sugar is high, and that doesn't mean that I'm not just talking about people who have diabetes. Say you ate crazy that day, your sugar is high, your body starts doing stuff to talk to you. You may not hear it or attribute it to what you ate that day, but it's talking. Um, so yeah, those are the things I'm taking right now that is kind of assisting and helping in my day-to-day journey with the polycystic ovarian syndrome. The facial hair is still facial hairing. It's still crazy. So we just
Real
got
bad. Real
real
bad.
bad. So we just got some facial wax strips and we just gonna call it a day for right now.
That's what I was going to ask you next. Like, what are you doing? What are some ways maybe people can like get rid of the facial hair? I know everybody just goes to shaving just because it's the easiest, most convenient, cheapest thing to do. But what are some other ways that you think people can go to get it removed besides the surgery or the hair removal?
So, like I said, I've been hairy since I was a very young kid. This lady, a cousin of mine, she was like, I was super young. I feel like maybe I had to be like 5, but I don't know. Sometimes you go back and you think it's like you don't know what age you really were. But she was like, "Girl, don't worry about that facial hair. Men think it's sexy." And I was young. I didn't even know. I had no thoughts about men thinking I was sexy at all. I didn't even have no thoughts about my facial hair at all. Um, but she sure gave me my insecurities that day. And
Mm,
so I say all that to say that I've been dealing with it for a very, very, very long time. Laser hair removal, my experience with that, it's a bit painful, but it's not intolerable. You can smell the burning of the hair follicle, which
mm,
is not a pleasant smell. Um, it worked. It lightened my skin up because it was dark, it was bumpy, it was bruised from all the shaving and all the different stuff I was doing. I do recommend the facial hair, laser hair removal. Um, but for some people, you never get a hair to grow back. For some people, the hair can come back.
mm,
For me, I want to say maybe 6 sessions. I could be wrong because this was a very long time ago that I got it done. It is pricey. And when you are a Black woman doing this, you have to see about making sure you're with a person who understands what kind of laser works with melanated skin. But it does
mm,
burn the follicle and it takes a few sessions because our hair grows in like sessions or segments or whatever word I'm looking for. So it takes a few to go in and get it all because you might get one in your hairs at one phase and then you might get one in this piece of hairs at another phase. So you got to go, but I got it
mhm,
for all chin, neck, cheeks, mustache. The mustache is almost, I don't want to say, it's almost to where it didn't grow back. Almost. So it's not really a bother for me, but the
mhm,
chin ended up coming back and it came back with a vengeance. And when it came back with
mm.
a vengeance, that's when I went and talked to a doctor. And that's when I found out about my hormonal and PCOS and whatnot. Um, at this point, I try not to shave. I do shave because sometimes I just don't have the time. Because one thing about facial hair, it can be a little time consuming to deal with.
Mhm.
If you are plucking, if you are threading, if you are waxing, those things take time. And money. If you don't have time and money, then shaving you might go for it. I don't recommend
And
shaving.
you also, when you're going to go get them plucked and, waxed and stuff like that, you have to keep an account that you have to walk around looking like a gruffy gruff for a couple days so
Possibly.
you can have enough to get it, and
Yeah,
nobody wants to walk around like that.
right. So with waxing specifically, it needs to be at a certain length so that the wax can grip the hair and pull the hair out.
Mhm.
With threading, it does not have to be a certain length. They do have to, I mean, you have to feel it. And sometimes you can feel it without actually seeing it because it's that
Mhm.
they can still get it up even when it's very, very, very low.
Right.
They might lie and say to you that they can't, but it's not the truth. You dealing with somebody who don't feel like doing the work.
Right.
Nowadays, this brand of facial wax strips, I like this brand. It works. This brand, I bought it on Temu initially, but I haven't seen it on Temu since. Um, so now I got it on Amazon. But the strips come like this, and then it gives you these vitamin E
We
wipes.
can't see it, sis.
I don't know how to show it, but it's just like I got it in a plastic bag. Strips come
Oh,
like you peel it, you rub it on your face, make sure it's rubbed in good, and then you rip it off, and you'll get a nice amount of hair off. So for day-to-day maintenance, I try to do these, and I'll do plucking. But when I got the money and I got the time, I like to go to a place called Sola, and I like to they do both wax and thread for me because I just have a lot going on. They have to do all of this and this and this and this, and like it's the whole thing. So they'll wax first and then go through and thread and make sure you're good. Um, and it costs about $25. Only downside of that for me is since you're taking it all off at the same time, it tends to grow back at the same time. That's the only downside. Whereas when you doing like shaving, you taking off at different phases. So now this patch then grew back. Now that patch,
mm-hmm.
different. So I know that was a very long answer, but shaving, I keep a little shaver in the bathroom. I keep a shaver in my car and in my purse, because you be thinking you okay, and then you look in the car mirror with that different lighting and you got a full beard, and it's like, what is going on here?
You leave or I left in the morning and was okay. And then by the time I got halfway through the day, I don't know if it grow that fast or what, but it'd be like, dang.
How? And like we go back to that less of a woman thing with some of these symptoms.
Yes.
Men today, as vain as a lot of men are, don't typically date women who have facial hair that they can see.
Yeah.
They don't typically like to date women with a big round belly.
Yep.
They'll do plus size. So it takes a lot of self work
Yep.
when you have PCOS, because you got to keep your mind together about the different changes that your body's going through. Keep that strength, that self-worth
Mm-hmm.
intact, because
And I don't know, does this bother you how, the whole conversation with relationships these days and the men who's like, well, if you're not bearing children, then what are you doing in life? And it's kind of like, um, sir, do you not understand that not everybody has the pleasure of having children? Do
it,
that make you feel any type of way?
it bothers me that they're so ignorant.
Hmm.
It don't really make me feel bad about myself at this stage, because at this stage I've kind of come now to a place of almost full contentment in that part of it.
Hmm.
I had to go through a phase though of being like, dang, I might not be able to have kids. I
Yeah.
never thought I wasn't gonna have kids. Never. I always wanted to be a mom. Always saw myself as a mom. And even today, I had a conversation today, and somebody was telling me, and they meant well, how I did some things right in my life because I'm not stuck with a bunch of kids. I've had a couple people say, well, what did you do? Because you and me comparing me to somebody else. Oh, well, you did it right because you focused on your career, you focused on getting yourself together, and you don't have all these responsibilities. What did you do to?
I had somebody tell me, "Oh, girl, you did right by not having kids."
They literally said it to me today.
Like it was my choice.
And, and I literally said to her, I didn't choose this life. This life chose me.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. I wish I did have a choice. Because if I had a choice, I'd be somewhere with some kids. But
At least one.
unfortunately, God was like, nah.
At least one. So I could like build. I can have my legacy grow. I
Right.
can start my own family, and what? I'm not gonna be a.
Yeah.
I only envisioned that. What? I'm like, please don't put me on no pedestal of somebody who did the right thing because I was doing the same stuff the other folk was doing. It's just
Facts.
this is the life God gave me.
Facts.
I ain't no better than nobody else
Nope.
at all.
Mm-mm.
At all. And I go back, even though I'm more content, like, okay, I've decided I'm not gonna have any kids. I have that thought way more often now than ever in my life. I still go back and forth. Holiday season, I'm like, or if I get sick,
Mm-hmm.
girl. What about those other symptoms like that we didn't mention? Um, like acne.
Yeah, acne is a big one. I've never personally had a problem with acne, but lately I think I've been getting more pimples and blackheads than usual,
Mhm.
but I've never really had a problem with acne. But I know some people who have big issues with
Same. I know some people with big issues with that.
that.
I never dealt with that too much. It might be one pimple around period time,
Hmm.
but it was never something that was too crazy with that. Something else we hadn't mentioned, fatigue.
Oh yeah. Now that's something that is not it's not my friend. It haunts me every day.
You have bouts of
I
fatigue.
wake up from the minute I wake up to the minute get home, I'm tired.
I have serious bouts of fatigue, like especially before I addressed my sugar.
Mm,
And as I'm still addressing, because I don't want to act like because now things are in the clear, I'm not still addressing. This is a day-to-day fight. Um,
right.
that is a heavy one when it comes to this fatigue. Like I'll be chilling and I'm just exhausted out of nowhere. Look at you yawning. And I be so
Well, listen, I had 3 little ones this weekend. Of course,
girl,
I'm
I know
tired.
you tired. I know you tired. Here's another one that we hadn't talked about, and we'll be wrapping this up soon. Um, sex drive. We talked about it last.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, we did talk about it last year.
and
Now, how is it for you?
how is it for me, friend? I am on go all the time. Mine is very high.
Okay.
Um, yeah, mine is very high. Now the women in the PCOS group, they talk about low all the
Mm,
time. It's only been a very, very, very small handful of women who have said mine is high. Everybody gotta be everybody darn near is like mine is low. I don't want it. My husband wants to touch me. I don't want him to touch me at all. I can't think about it at all.
mm.
Say
I'm
love.
sorry, y'all.
Good. We already knew that you making your money. That comes first. We
Right.
already knew. So you get in where you fit in. We're now talking about some of the other side effects that wasn't really mentioned. Acne, sex drive. What was the other one I said? Fatigue.
My
Fatigue.
drive is through the roof.
Tell me about it. Because
When I
mine is
say it's
too.
through the roof, it is through the roof. Like, it is ridiculously crazy. Badly. I'm exaggerating it like to the 10th power because it need to be. That's how bad it is. And over time, it done got worse and worse and worse and worse. And sometimes I get an attitude, like a bad one. When I say bad, like don't talk to me, y'all. Like I'm not in the mood, but it's because I haven't had none. So I don't know. Like that's why I don't feel like the birth control is really working anymore because my hormones, I can tell, I know when it's out of whack. And sometimes I'll say randomly, okay, it's out of whack because I just know it. I feel it. It's just, I don't know, it's bad. And even got to the point where like I had like you was asking about the abdominal pains earlier.
Mhm.
I get those. I get them bad at times, randomly. And I even asked for FMLA, and she was like, and my OBGYN was like, oh, well, I'd rather try to fix the problem. And I'm like, I done had this problem since 2017, and you haven't fixed anything, which therefore you should give it to me so it don't interfere with my job. Because there are times when I call in, and it is what it is, because my health is more important.
How
That to
often
say,
is that happening, would you say?
it's like blue moon. Like it can be, I can go without abdominal pains for months and then it'll just randomly come out of nowhere. And they had did a biopsy on me. They have done different things. Now they told me it wasn't cancerous, but when they did my last biopsy, they found like a mass that they said was small, but it wasn't cancerous. And that's always been like a big concern to me because I'm like, are y'all gonna wait for it to become cancerous before you do something about it? Or like, what is it? Because I
Oh.
don't want to go through the biopsy no more. Like that, I have a high pain tolerance, and that right there sent me through the roof
Hmm.
when they did the biopsy. Like they gave me medication. I still felt everything because they go inside to the uterus and they take a piece of the uterus to test it. You can still feel it. Like I
Are you
felt
talking about the
like
colposcopy?
it was worse than my ectopic pregnancy. Like the ectopic pregnancy
Mhm.
made me shoot out the bed in the middle of my sleep.
Mm.
And that right there, it was so bad. Like I couldn't hear nothing. I barely could see. Like I felt like I was just not even here. And yet that was cerebral. And I feel like that little bit of them few seconds of them going in there and taking a piece of the uterus was 10 times worse than the ectopic pregnancy.
Mm.
So they say they have to check on it from time to time, but they say they have not seen any signs of cancer. But yet I'm like, do you think that that has something to do with, my cycles being abnormal and being on birth control for a long time? And I ask questions because they don't care about you like you care about yourself, right? So
Right.
For
they just will
sure.
give you simple answers. No, it's not cancerous, so we're not going to worry about it. Don't have it in the back of your head. It's not cancer. So you just be like, okay, well, and you
But
just
you
hoping
know something going on with your
that
body the
everything
whole
will be
time.
Yep.
okay. So,
Girl, get a second opinion. That's what I suggest
well,
everybody
yeah.
to
So
do. Get a
this is the
second
thing. I
opinion.
found me a holistic doctor, and if I can afford it, Lord knows that's who I'm going to. On top of that, Texas has some really great doctors. I just have to find one that has a good rating that actually will take my insurance. I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, so I have good insurance. But I do need to, find a doctor that I feel like will be like best suit what I'm going through because she's there, but I don't know. I just have these different feelings when it comes to her, right? And at the end of the day, I just feel like I can find somebody that can do a little bit more. And it sucks because my OBG that was in Ohio, he was phenomenal. Like he did everything in his power to make sure I was okay. Like there was no like anything I needed, he was there. He was almost like to me, almost family. That's how great of a doctor he was and how close we were. And he made sure that he did research, that he went down every avenue to help me. I didn't have to worry about anything, especially with my type of pregnancy. Like he was there along the way. And it's like once you move, it's like, golly, you got to try to find somebody that either match that or tops that. So that's a challenging right now, just trying to find somebody that best suits me because I've been dealing with her since I've been here in Texas. That's 6 years. And yet I kind of don't feel like things are changing. So I am going to do some more research to see who I can find. Right. So,
That's a big one with PCOS, finding a doctor that is understanding, that knows
yeah,
about it, that can give you some insight on
Mhm.
things that you trust and feel comfortable with.
And not just tell you the generic stuff.
Hmm.
I remember I
exactly.
had a kind of gynecologist tell me, well, basically, I asked her if she could test me to see if I ovulated, and she basically told me, because I'm over the age of 25 and my eggs start to decline at the age of 25, then I'm less likely to be able to ovulate. You think she ever tested me for that? Nope, never tested me for it.
Mm.
Crazy. You gotta find a good doctor because these doctors, they'll tell you anything and then send you on your merry way.
Hmm. That's a big one. My doctor currently, I like him. I kind of think he has. I kind of think he's on the spectrum,
Mm.
but he know what he
Those are the best ones, though.
he know what he
Uh,
he's helped me, and he knows what he's talking about. He's helped the person that referred him to me, and like saved two babies of hers, I want to say. Um,
mm,
but he did say one thing that I was like, I think he said, "Oh yeah, well your PCOS is gone now, or it will be gone. Like if you lose the weight, it'll be gone." Or he said something to that effect, and I'm like, that ain't right. Other than
bless
that,
me.
though, I have not had any other problems. Haven't heard anything. Nothing else rubbed me the wrong way. Everything else has been great. He stopped all these long, super long periods, all that. But that only that I'm like, no, this is a lifelong thing. Even though
Right.
my
I,
stuff
I
is coming.
personally feel though the men are more on it than the female doctors.
And that's my
Yes,
doctor was a
I
man.
agree.
But I
Yeah,
hear you. I hear what you're saying. I wonder why that is.
I don't know. It's like, I don't know. They just seem like they have their research down to the T. And it's crazy. One time my doctor wasn't there. So they's like, are you okay with talking to somebody else? And I said, sure. And it was a guy. And he was asking me a billion questions that she didn't even ask me. And I was just like, I probably should have stayed with him. But
Mhm.
I don't want to keep jumping from doctor to doctor. You know how you want to keep that rapport with the one person? But I probably should have stayed with him, you
Build
know? So,
a with somebody.
yeah.
What about those other two things that I mentioned? Do you deal with acne or like fatigue?
I have always had perfect skin for some reason, and I still have it outside of the inner thigh. As far as well, the only thing I got now because I pluck so much, I'm starting to get a mark. But like my skin, I don't really get like blemishes and stuff. But as far as fatigue, it comes and it goes.
Okay.
One day I'm like, yes, I can do. Listen, I feel like I can fly a plane, and then another day I'm just like, you know. I don't
Mm,
take any energy drinks for it. But one thing that I was doing at one point that helped me was juicing. And I just bought a juicer. I just got it in the mail 2 days ago. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get back to doing my juicing and stuff. And I do
That's
research on
gonna help.
different vegetables and fruits because there are certain kind, yeah, some of them have a lot of sugar, but there are certain kind that naturally will give you the vitamins and stuff that you need. And then, I've been looking into like more like the holistic stuff,
Mhm.
what
um,
makes you want to go for the viewers? What makes you want to go the holistic route?
because it's natural, it's from the earth, and the earth was made to heal us.
Yep.
And I think about like just being honest, like the biblical days are just during that time. Even if it wasn't just the biblical days, when people were making medicines, they were taking stuff from the earth and they
Yep.
were creating these medicines. They weren't putting all these different drugs and chemicals and all these different things in there. They was literally taking stuff from the earth. Even when you watch a movie from back then, if somebody just got done with a sport fight, you see them grinding up some stuff and they put it over their wound and they patch it up and wrap it up, and then 3 days later you barely see a scar on their body. And yeah, it's Hollywood, but still, like that's how things was kind of back in the time. So it's like when you have these people who are finding the more natural way of healing your body, because it's made to heal and our body's supposed to heal itself as well. It's like you want to just kind of get more in tune with that instead of a doctor saying, "Hey, you got X, Y, and Z. Let me just give you some medicine and put a Band-Aid on you." I
Yeah.
don't like that.
Um,
'Cause at the end of the day, I feel like if a doctor's child deal with anything, whether it's PCOS or just anything at all, they're gonna do everything that they can to make sure their child is okay, you know. But
Mhm.
when it comes to just a stranger, it's all about the money now compared to really caring about an individual. So that's why I want to go more towards a holistic route if I can.
And we gotta understand too that the drug industry is a billion-dollar industry. It might be more than that. You know what I'm saying? So it really is all about money. And a lot of times when you go to the doctors, they treat the symptoms. They're not worried about healing the body, you know?
mhm.
Also, I wanted to say that juicing is going to help with your you being in diabetic range. One thing I did when what was it? I was like 20, I want to say 25 or 26 when they diagnosed me with diabetes. What I did was cut out rices, breads, and pasta, and I didn't eat that anymore. Like I just stopped eating it. And eventually, I started doing not juicing but smoothies. And after a while, I was back in regular range. They even declared me no longer pre-diabetic.
That's what I used to do. So I used to I used to pay for a company that used to juice for me, and I would do that or smoothies in the morning. And I did the same thing. I took out the rice, the bread, like all carbs, pretty much. Like I was
Mhm,
only intaking probably about the most 12 grams of carbs a day. And when I used to tell people that, they was like, "That's unhealthy." But yeah, when I would watch documentaries, they would tell us that Americans would consume like pretty much 75%, carbs, and then you got these small percentages of vegetables and fruit,
mhm,
where it's supposed to be backwards. Your
mhm,
vegetables and your fruit should have a larger percentage than carbs and even meats, right? But
mhm.
yet, we love our pasta, we love our bread. Don't get me started. I'll go to Olive Garden right now if I had to and go get my favorite type of pasta if I wanted it, right? So we have different things that we consume more than what's really better for our body. And so I did that at one point. And like I said, when I even did it with the keto, I lost so much weight to the point my family was like nervous. They said, is something wrong? Should you be like, what's going on? And I'm like, no, I've just been on this, you know, journey, this keto journey I'm at. And it had helped me. I just wish I was more consistent with it. But I wasn't having any cravings. So I wasn't craving sugar. Like I wasn't craving anything, y'all. It was just like me on this health kick, water, 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 fruit infused
Mhm.
water. Like I was just on top of what I needed to be on top of. So
Shayla, um, how did dating and having been married, how was it interacting when with PCOS? I can't talk right now. Have the do you tell who you're dating? Are they understanding?
well, I tried the dating journey and it sucks, right? But I
Hmm.
have talked to some people, like I have male friends, like it's not even anything sexual. I just have male friends, And I've even talked to them about it before. Like I told you, one of my friends, I talked to him about my weight, and he's like, "Well, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, "Yes, we can do X, Y, and Z, but these are other things that I have to do." And he couldn't understand it. And so I told him, I said, "One day you come over, I will show you, we can research together so you can get an understanding of what I'm talking about." And so he's like, "All right, friend." So he came over and I was just showing him, and he's just like, "Man," he's like, "It sucks for women. Y'all go through so much." And I'm like, "Yes, we go through a lot." You know what I'm saying? You guys got to worry about prostate. You know what I'm saying? Not to be funny, if I can say it like this, blue balls, stuff like that. We on another level that like we're dealing with a lot. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so when I would tell, guys what I was dealing with, some of them couldn't understand it, some of them could. like I said, you say something about it, and then they look at you like, "Is it STD or something?" You're like, "No." It's just a different type of change in a woman's body that deals with their hormones, infertility, um, weight gain, hair on the face, loss of hair. I mean, the list goes on. There are so many categories that is underneath it that people just don't know about. And even females, I talk to them about it at work sometime and I educate them and they're blown away. And then some of them are like, man, I need to get tested because it sounds like I have that. So I try to share. I'm very open about it. But as far as
Yeah, that was
dating,
like our biggest thing with starting this podcast. People are unaware of what it is and how it affects people. So, yeah, I definitely agree.
Do you guys have any content creators that you watch or listen to or anything, or even um yeah, content creation or any kind of research, uh I'm
I
using
am
the words that
big,
I'm trying to say.
big, big on Dr. Sabi.
Okay, yeah, resources, that's what the word I was looking for.
me too.
Resources.
Yes, yes, yes.
Dr. Sabi.
hmm
There
Um, so yeah, anybody who like, there's creators that follow Dr. Sabi's teachings and they'll have like different videos or say like, videos or like pictures and they'll tell you like what certain herbs is for and how to use them and stuff like that. So I do follow a lot of content creators on TikTok who follow him, follow his teaching, and they will give like tips on what to do with certain herbs.
um there's a guy I like to watch and follow on TikTok. His name is Drew Baird, the PCOS mentor. My screen's kind of, this is what he looks like. This is him showing like what the PCOS belly tends to look like. That
Your camera's off.
is it. Oh, I can see it on my side. It's that's
Yeah,
him.
I just seen it. I just saw it.
Can you see
Oh,
him?
for whatever reason I can't see it.
Oh, Drew Baird, that's his name, the PCOS mentor. It's a guy, which you rarely see men teaching and advocating for PCOS survivors, but that's him showing the PCOS belly. That's the belly that they attribute a lot of times to polycystic ovarian syndrome. Um, we're wrapping up. Anything, Shayla, I know you're working, running around. Anything you want to add right now that you have not added that you want to say to any other PCOS survivors? I think she worked.
You
Oh,
saying like as far as a person that I may follow or just in general?
you may follow. Any last final
Well,
words?
you know what I mean, I don't, this is the thing. The only time I ever really follow somebody is Kiki Palmer, right?
Mhm.
And I only followed her because when she first came out about her PCOS and dealing with her skin, I was only following her because I wanted to see her journey of what she was dealing with.
I didn't even know
Because it
she.
was like, yeah, yeah, one time she made a video and she was talking about her face. She wanted to show what her face looked like without makeup. And it was like very had a lot of blemishes, bumps, rashes, etc. And she was letting people know that she had PCOS. And this girl is not big, she's, a small size. And so I was like, wow, you would think that somebody that's more on the plus size would have PCOS, but then you find out, no, it can be whether you skinny or big. It just depends on what's going on the inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that blew me away, but she hasn't really talked much more about it. I don't be on TikTok much, but I was on TikTok at one point when I was following a doctor. I don't even know her name. And she was just giving tips and stuff. Because what I was typing in was what do people eat when they're on PCOS? And people start kind of making these videos of what they were eating. And I was just trying to see if I can incorporate more of those type of meals, those tasty meals into my lifestyle. Um, But pretty much everything that I talked about is what I'm dealing with is like I said, the weight gain, the dietitian, the endocrinologist. But I will say to everybody who is watching, if you end up being diagnosed with it, do not be discouraged. It's not cancer or anything like that. You might go through roller coasters, but the biggest thing is just trying to find out what's best for you. Because
Yeah.
everybody has it, but everybody deals with it differently. You may be able to relate in some areas, but then you might hear somebody talk about something that you've never heard of, and you're like, wow, right? So everybody deals with things differently.
We can't hear you. Shayla, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, we
Mhm.
we stopped being able to hear you for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So I was saying there are groups upon groups and videos upon videos that will allow you to get the resources that you need so you'll know that you're not by yourself.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Um, before I ask Sakina, when you mentioned Kiki Palmer, it's interesting to hear that about her. I did not know that. I found out Victoria Monet, the girl who sings "Oh My Mama" and a couple other songs, she has PCOS.
Wow. Wow, that blows me away.
Yeah, because she had some recent weight gain, and she had to let everybody know, like, "Hey, this is why my body has changed." Um, that girl works out, she dances, she's very active, but when you have PCOS, your body is doing things and reacting in a different way than than what you would assume. Chrisette Michelle is another celebrity that I follow that I know has come out and disclosed that she has PCOS as well, and she went vegan to lose the weight. Um, Sakina, did you have any like final thoughts, things you wanted to add before we said our goodbyes?
Um, I just want to touch base back on like the doctor thing. Don't get discouraged by what the doctors say. I know plenty of people who have had children with PCOS. Actually, I have like 3 or 4, maybe 5 family members who've actually had children with PCOS. Um, of course, everybody's journey is different, so don't be discouraged when you hear like other people's story. You think you're going to be like that. Everybody's body is different, everybody's journey is different. Also, to reiterate, get support, get support, get support, get support. Find you what we call a soul sister. I call Sherelle my soul sister because we have, soul sister, as in the cyst in your ovaries. That's what us PCOSers call our sisterhood,
I
soul
like how
sisters.
you said that. Soul
Yeah.
sisters.
Mhm.
Yep.
You should get those
So,
shirts
like, find
made.
you a soul sister and, find some support because other people could try to em empathize with you, but a person who actually has it really is the only person who truly understands. Um, so find some support, find somebody to talk to because there's going to be rough days. There's going to be days where you're like, I'm not feeling good, or, I just feel emotionally and mentally drained. Also, just because you have PCOS does not mean you are less of a woman. And remember that. That's all I got to say.
All stuff that I totally, totally, totally agree with. Definitely get you some support and do some research, take some risks, try some things out. You might find something you like. And then when you don't be afraid to switch it up, change it up. That doctor ain't saying what you want to hear. Move on, get a second opinion. That medicine ain't giving you what you wanted to give. don't be afraid to work it until it works with you. Because it takes a minute to get in a comfortable space and find what works for you. And you don't have to sit in your discomforts. Um, it's okay to make some changes and switch some things up. And yeah, that's part of why we do this. We do this to have the support and to like discuss our journeys, because like you said, some folk will try to empathize with you, but when you're talking to somebody that's living it, that hits different. That hits different. So it's Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome Awareness Month, September 2024. This is our 5th annual PCOS podcast. We will be back next year, hopefully with some new faces, but if not, we all are willing to and excited to share our journeys, changes, things that we're using. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat. Please like, please subscribe. If you have any things that is working for you, put that in the chat too, because we would love to hear that kind of stuff. We'd love to connect with anybody that is on this journey of survival and management. And I think that's it. I want to thank Shayla and thank Sakina for your transparency. And we will be back next year, y'all, to talk it out. Have a nice night. We out.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.